I am so glad you are here, especially today. Let's get through the basics so we can talk a little bit, okay? So let's start with, what am I drinking? What am I wearing? Like we usually do. I'm back on the burdock because I kind of neglected myself for about a week, and my eczema came back. Look at that. Looks like a little cut. Hurts. Oh. So back drinking that with a few other treasures in here. What am I wearing? Well, I've got one of Jerry's fabulous warm scarves on. Some of them are surprisingly warm. And then, of course, I've got some of Tracy's treasures on my fingers, like I almost always do. They're just so pretty. They're just great little pieces of jewelry. Let's do what's going on. What's happening out there? What's happening here at the shop? We do have a class on magical astrology. Astrological magic will be at 3 p.m. this Saturday, January 31st. On Sunday the 7th, no, Saturday the 7th, I apologize, I can't read my own writing. At noon, Alliance Coven will be here. That'll be amazing. And there'll be a hoodoo, American hoodoo and folklore craft on that same Saturday the 7th with Eshu. On the 8th, Sunday at 10 before we open will be the Gardnerian intro class. And at 1, there'll be the class on theurgy taught by Ravenwolf. That, like the American Hoodoo class, is a by donation class.
I don't know why.
And I know some people are going to be going theurgy. What? So I thought I would pull up a little definition. So theurgy is the methods you use to ask for supernatural help or the help of a god or gods to enact your life, to enact your will. It is the operation of petitioning for aid, basically. And that's going to be covered from a very classical, magical, ceremonial sense by Ravenwolf on Sunday the 8th with an awfully practical, modern bent to it, which is so much fun to hear. There'll be the Tarot Lab on the 8th at 3:30. And the following Saturday, the 14th, Container Magic will be at 3 p.m. It was a really good class last time we did it, and it should be a lot of fun this time. There'll be a slightly different take this time. So even if you've had the class once before, it's another by donation class you probably want to check out if you're interested. The following Sunday, the Grief group will be here at 4. And on the 21st, which is a Saturday, there'll be another fabulous group here doing ritual for the first time. If you're interested in that Seekers group, which is run by Tamara and J-Rob, contact us here at the store so we can put you in touch with them so you can sign up with us for the space with them so that you're getting the information you need on it. It's always an amazing visual feast to see them do ritual, as well as the other aspects of ritual, large group ritual that they handle so very well. I can't encourage you enough. It's going to be wonderful. If you've checked out Alliance Coven, I'd encourage you to check out the other groups as well. If you've checked out this group, I'd encourage you to check out the rest. Just because it's always about finding the right personality fit, and that's so important in the process of exploring your various religious options and the paths you might want to take. That said, if you are looking for a little divine guidance, we do have some readers here. Today, Eshu should be here from noon to 6, and again on Thursday from noon to 3. He might even be here the whole day, actually, on Thursday, I got to be honest. Friday, we'll have Ravenwolf from 1 to 4 and Daryl from 2 to 6. Eshu does tarot and palmistry. Ravenwolf does tarot. And he's starting to really get into runes. So that day is coming, I believe. Not yet. He's not reading the runes yet, but I think that day is coming fast. Daryl is in on Friday from 4 to 6. He has an oracle deck that he designed himself. It is a treat to behold the deck, and the readings are actually very, very good. I highly recommend him. Saturday, Eshu will be back again from noon to 3, and Margaret from 3 to 6 doing tarot. Sunday, Eshu is reading, and Monday, Daryl is reading his oracle deck from noon to 2, and Morpheus does dream interpretation from 2 to 6. And on Tuesdays, we have Raven Wolf again from noon to 3, and Daryl is in from 3 to 6. So you have plenty of opportunities to run into any one of these guys. Margaret and Morpheus being the two that are only here once a week. So if you're looking to see them, you're going to want to get here on those days, either late Saturday afternoon for Margaret's tarot readings, which are excellent, and Morpheus's dream interpretations on Mondays from 2 to 6. Well, that's what am I wearing? What am I drinking? What's going on? Let's do a few of the things I brought in to show off for you guys. I brought in the work of Dark Moon Dragon Feathers Botanicals. It's a locally owned company. They hand make everything they're making, and they have a series of powders as well as some inks that I thought you guys might be really interested in. So there is these beautiful little powders. This one is a banishing powder. Might come in handy if you're doing certain kinds of work right now. Fabulous in and of itself. There is also a sigil powder. So if you're using, say, some of her inks, you might sprinkle this over the sigil. There are a lot of ways to use a good sigil powder, but that's one. She also has eggshell powder, and all of these are based on eggshell powder, which is why they're all talc-free. So they're safer to use, frankly, than some powders that have historically been out there. And then, of course, probably my favorite for the moment, or did I say this one already and confuse these two? Banishing powder and Four Thieves powder. So banishing powder, get rid of the things you want. Four Thieves powder is about being able to move through the world, being able to get your work done without necessarily getting noticed. Kind of a cause near and dear to my heart. I mentioned the inks. Forgive me, I'm going to disappear for a moment. And those inks, the ones we've got right now, include something called owl's blood ink. There's no owl's blood in it. There's no animals harmed in the making of these inks, but these are traditional names for these inks. Rabbit's blood, again, no rabbits were harmed, right? And the very traditional bat's blood ink. They're all traditional inks. They all have individual uses, and she's got a guide sheet for you that I'm going to quote from just so I've got it from her perspective. That bat's blood, that is used for hexing. It's used for revenge. It's used to make life more difficult for someone who is impeding your freedom and your rights. The owl's blood is for when you need to find the light in darkness. So you can see through a dark situation, see with those owl eyes to really see what's going on and to use that wisdom to discern what you should do about it. What should your role be? And rabbit's blood is about fertility and love spells. And you might think that might not be the most prominent or most important thing to think about right now, but I'm going to encourage you to expand how you think of fertility in that case and think in terms of a blossoming and expansion of the values and ideals that this country was founded on, that we have so imperfectly tried to embody generation after generation and help them be fertile and flourish. So those are some magical tools that are made locally by someone who really cares about what's going on and is a lovely human in their own right. That company, again, is Dark Moon Dragon Feathers Botanicals. This is the flyer she's got here at the shop. Lists all the inks out and what they're all used for. I'm just going over the ones we happen to have in stock at the moment. But her full collection does include dove's blood, butterfly's blood, dragon's blood, and raven's blood. What do you use those for? Butterfly's blood is more about charms and spells. The dove's blood is used for prosperity, friendship, and love. The raven's blood is for bindings and banishings, protection spells, things along those lines. And of course, the dragon's blood, that resin it is a resin, by the way, in case you don't know. Once again, no animals are harmed in the making of these inks. It's a resin, and it's always been associated just with bringing extra oomph to any magical working you're doing. Just that little extra bit of power that comes from being associated with Mars, with that sort of vibrant, aggressive, masculine type, stereotypically masculine type energy. So I recommend them. I think they're wonderful products. I will say that I've used these inks And she has recommendations with how to use them that include don't put them in a calligraphy pen because there's hard enough pieces in there it will mess things up. I actually like to give them a really good shake. So I get the stuff that's on the bottom, that's all this light blue glittery stuff in the case of the rabbit's blood, really mixed in. And then I like to use a Q-tip because I just find it's easy to use and it's highly effective. So this is what that ink will look like when it's on your page. That's how it dries. And she's got those kinds of hang tags for each and every one of these inks. That's your owl's blood. And then, of course, if I can get it facing the right way, your bat's blood. As I said, though, as I showed you, there's a lot of this wonderful like mica-based sort of stuff in here. And you got to really shake sometimes to get it all mixed in. But once you've done that, you're good to go. I don't think there's anything else I can say about those. So I don't have any guests today because I really wanted to chat. We put up a somewhat glib post last week, and I want to apologize for the glibness of it. But I also want to emphasize that we're not going to close. And it's not because we don't have people on staff who want to go protest. We do, and they get to do that. Someone's taking off this Friday for that reason. But we're not going to close because we have always been a sanctuary. Do you think differently from the people you work with or the people who raised you? That's okay. We got you. Do you feel different from those people? It's okay. We got you. Do you worship differently? Got you covered. Are you just different? We love that about you. We encourage you because it means you've had to think and figure things out. And frankly, I feel, and I think most of the people here traditionally have felt that that gives you a leg up. It gives you a greater ability to put yourself in someone else's position. It gives yourself a greater ability to empathize, to make good decisions, and to really understand the world around you in a way that's better than if life had been just a little easier. And we're going to continue to be that sanctuary. There are things that we here have gotten ready to do that I'm not going to discuss here because quite frankly, this is a public forum and I'm unwilling to share everything on a public forum. What I will tell you, somebody's calling. Sorry. What I will tell you is that if you're out protesting and it's 8 degrees with a wind chill of -20, stop in for a few minutes and warm up. Enjoy the heat. Get a hot chocolate if we've got it on hand. Can't guarantee it'll always be here, but we'll do our best. Worse, if things are really out of hand and you needed to escape, you needed to run, we've got a back door. That back door leads to the building's back door. There are other surprises and secrets, but again, not going to talk about them. I'm sorry. Yesterday, for Magical Tuesday, I did a spell. I did a spell where I showed you how to melt some ice symbolically, surrounding it by protesters represented by candle flame. I think these people are really important, and one is never enough. I'm in the generation that protested by percentage just as much as the generation before it, but we were so small, we were barely heard. You need a large crowd of people at protests. But it's not the only thing you need. You need an ocean of people supporting those folks. And that was also included in the spell. So we set out 4 candles to light around that ice so we could melt that ice. But without someone to give people a ride home, to deliver groceries, to take their pet to the veterinarian, to sneak them into and out of their medical care facilities, more people will needlessly die. And those people shouldn't be at a protest. They shouldn't be this person. Because if they're this person, their license plate, the make and model of their car, and their face have all been recorded somewhere. And they're easier to come after and easier to follow. Those people need to not be there. They are part of the ocean of support for the protesters, and more importantly, quite frankly, for the people that the protesters are out there protesting for. I count myself among this group, the Ocean Jaspers of the world. I think about and have thought about for a very long time how this is an echo of the past. And I've been watching for a long time now, going back years. I look at the attempt of the federal government to deny funding that's already allocated to states that didn't elect Donald Trump. And I think back to the British engineering of the Irish famine that killed millions and forced millions to flee. And arguably, potentially, at least as bad, the Great Silence that followed the famine. The Great Silence led to eradication of huge swaths of the culture of that people. The music, the dancing, the way celebrations took place, the language, and that is a way of killing and crushing people. It was also replicated here, in this country, just as criminally, just as cruelly, just as harshly. I think about the abuses of people in Southern California that ultimately led to things like the Zoot Suit riots, or even the very need to strike because you're not being treated fairly. I think of crises that have happened again and again in this country. And while I don't know what my position would be had I lived in that era and been raised in it and steeped in those cultures, when I do think about, say, prohibition and emancipation and how important they are, I wouldn't have wanted, at least as the person I am today, to have been the one giving the fiery speech behind the dais on the platform. I wouldn't have wanted to be in the crowd. Yeah, there's a chance I might have gotten harmed or my life might have been impeded in some way because I chose to show up at that. It's just more in keeping with my personality, my personal style, and how life has shaped me to say I would rather have been in complete disguise and been a stop on the Underground Railroad. I've said, and if you know me, you've heard me say this, and I don't say it online, if I had a choice, I'd rather be Merlin than King Arthur any day of the week. I can work wonders behind the scenes. And I don't need credit. I really don't. I'll play the King Arthur role because it's required of me at times. And I'm happy to do it. I'm honored, in fact, to do it. But where my strengths lie, that's in making sure things are better for people in ways you might not see, by offering sanctuary, by supplying people who need protection with the supplies they need. And I'm going to continue to do that, whether here or somewhere else. My goal is to provide sanctuary, necessary sanctuary. And as I've watched what has been happening, and I think of those echoes from the past and how this movement and this activity that has been thrust upon, particularly us here in Minnesota, I don't think I would have gone to a protest in Nazi Germany, but I think I would have hidden people. I don't think I would have lobbied Parliament during the famine, but I probably would have stolen some loaves of bread for people. I'll be honest. I understand some of you are angry because that post was awfully glib, and I apologize for that. I really do. I was hoping we could hide more than I feel that we're allowed to hide right now. And the point of hiding the good works is not to protect me or even the employees. It's to protect the people who really need that help, who really need that protection. And if my privilege can stand between a family and certain death, I want to stand between them. And if that means I'm not standing next to you at the protest, I'm sorry. But I think what I'm doing uses my talents better, my resources better, and suits my ethics and morals better. I support you if you're going to all those rallies, all those protests. This is something that deserves protest, and I applaud you. But I equally applaud the person who's sneaking someone out of a medical facility because they're terrified that the medical attention they just got will be for nothing if they are detained. I applaud the person who is offering and then ferrying people to and from work that they could walk to because they need an escort that looks like this. Just as much as I applaud each and every one of you that protest. It's vital. It's important. All of it. So please support the protests if you're able to. If you're not in Minnesota and you can support the protests and the people working to stop this, please do that. But support the organizations and the people who aren't the flame standing outside in the cold, but rather the person who's deliberately not going to the protest so they can support the people who are and the people the protesters are trying to help. I don't have a long one for you guys today. I really don't. It's a complicated situation with some very straightforward needs that now no one group or people can fulfill. But know that we'll be open. So you can catch some warmth when you need to, catch some encouragement when you need to, maybe even a hot cocoa, and if necessary, a back door. Because when I think about how bad things are right now, my mind turns to the ways in which it's been made worse historically. So very much worse than it is today. And that's what I spend my time preparing for. Good luck to all of us. I'm very happy about the little victories that have been won. I'm glad that leadership seems to be changing ever so slightly, and that the force here in this state is being diminished by however little. Every little bit counts. There are so many times in this country we have faced this battle, this exact battle before, of people who think that they need to be better than, of people who think they know the right way to tell you what to do, the right way to participate in society. Please don't fall prey to that. And if somebody's not at the event that you think is vital, ask them why. Ask them what they're doing. Have they been asked by the activist group they're involved with specifically not to be there? So they're harder to identify so that they can do the work that they do that is helping the people you're trying to help. Meantime, to all of you out there who are immigrants or in the process of becoming citizens or recent citizens or have family members who are, that don't have this privilege, all immigrants need to band together. I don't care how you got here. And by the way, if you're not among the very first people to get here, you're an immigrant or the kid of one. I don't care how many generations back. You're here because someone gave up the comforts of home and the sorrows of home and the torture of home, in some cases, to build a new life, to contribute to a society that is built not on the accomplishments of one group of people, but has only done what it's been able to do because it's embraced all groups of people. Imperfectly, I grant you. But it is that has captured the brilliance of humanity, and for a time, made us the shining city on a hill. I hope we can hike back up there again. but it's going to take a lot of work and more than one generation. I'm going to be honest. This isn't something we get over in a day. We have to do what those people did in the past. We have to figure out how to rebuild in ways that forestalls this repetition. And it's been done before. Education's been used to do this, to emphasize the importance of embracing all of humanity, that there's genius in every society. And if they want to come here, that's wonderful, especially if their genius would never have been recognized where they were from. That's a win for that immigrant. It's a win for their family and their descendants, and it's a win for this country, no matter where they come from. This has been one of the most innovative societies and countries in the world at times. And those have always been times when we have embraced differences and not sought sameness, kind of reflected in what we carry here as many paths of religious and philosophical thought as we can. May you live in interesting times is definitely a curse, but it's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to look at what people have done before, not just to overcome this, but to forestall its repetition. What systems do we put in place that will delay this from happening again? I'm not the first person to talk about this during this crisis, and I hope I won't be the last. But it is about allowing everyone to do the things they can do best that will help us succeed, and indeed this country to succeed. It's a lesson other societies have learned in much more difficult ways than we have. We've only had one revolution. And we've grown almost every decade since. Let's keep the growth going. Let's embrace difference. Let's embrace difference of approach. And let's embrace communicating with one another so that we can lift all boats and succeed together. And if lifting all boats means there are a lot more boats at my level, that's amazing, fantastic, and wonderful. Let's do that together. Hopefully we'll see you around. Of course, we love seeing you at the shop. We love seeing you online at magusbooks.com. And we love you for being your best magical you, including doing all of the magical things you can do. Blessed be.